The first time a billionaire paid me for fixing a light, she did not look at my truck and decide I was not worth her time. She looked me in the eyes and asked a question no one had asked in years. Not how much I charged. Not how fast I could finish. She asked if I liked my work. I was a single dad, an electrician, a man who had learned that wanting something and being able to afford it were two very different things. My ex-wife left when our daughter was 2. My mother's arthritis was getting worse, and every morning I woke up knowing that one bad day could knock down everything I had built. But this woman standing in her silent mansion looked at me like she saw past the work boots and the tired hands, like she understood what it meant to carry weight no one else could see. I should have walked away after I fixed that light. I did not, because 3 days later, she called with an offer that would change everything.
Yes,
and by the time I realized what I was walking into, it was already too late to go back. What she really wanted was not another contractor. It was someone who could see her too. The first time Elizabeth Martinez paid me, she looked me straight in the eyes and asked a question no rich client had ever asked before. She did not ask how fast I could finish. She did not ask if I gave discounts. She did not look at my boots, my truck, or my work shirt and decide who I was before I opened my mouth. She just stood there in that huge silent house holding a check in one hand and asked me if I liked my work. That should have been the strange part. It was not. The strange part came later when I realized I had actually answered her honestly, and that honesty felt like opening a door I had welded shut years ago. But I am getting ahead of myself. The call came in at 6:43 on a Tuesday morning, 17 minutes after I dropped Sophia off at daycare. I remember the time because mornings ran on a tight schedule in my life. Wake Sophia up, get her dressed, find the shoe she somehow always lost, pack her snack, drive her to daycare, then go wherever the first job sent me. I had been an electrician for 12 years. By then, my days were built on routine. Routine kept the lights on. Routine kept the bills paid. Routine kept a single dad from falling apart. The address was in Westridge Hills, one of those neighborhoods where every house looked like it belonged in a magazine spread no normal person could afford. The roads curved around old oak trees and stone walls. The gates were taller than the ceilings in my apartment. My truck looked out of place the second I turned onto the street. When I pulled up to the house, I just sat there for a moment with both hands on the wheel. The place did not look like a home. It looked like a statement. Glass steel, sharp edges, clean lines, beautiful in a cold way, like something built to impress people, not comfort them. I grabbed my toolbox and walked up the stone path. Before I could ring the bell, the front door opened. The woman standing there was younger than I expected, mid-30s maybe. Dark jeans, cream sweater, hair tied back in a loose knot, no makeup that I could see. But it was her eyes that caught me, not because they were flashy, because they looked tired deep, tired, careful. Like she had not really rested in years. You're the electrician, not a question. A statement. Yes, ma'am. Robert Williams. I got a call about a garage light. It's been flickering for 3 days. It's driving me insane. She stepped aside and let me in. I followed her through a house that was so quiet it almost echoed. Everything looked expensive. Everything looked untouched. The living room furniture looked like nobody had ever sat on it. The kitchen looked cleaner than a showroom. Morning light poured in through giant windows. And for a second I had the strange feeling that the whole house was too perfect to breathe in. She led me into the garage. It was bigger than my old apartment. Polished floors. Clean walls. One black sedan parked in the middle like it was on display. It's that light. She pointed to a ceiling fixture near the back wall. I set my toolbox down and pulled out my ladder. Shouldn't take long. You say that like you already know what's wrong. I usually do. That got the smallest reaction from her. Not quite a smile, but close enough to notice. I climbed up, popped the fixture open. Found the problem in less than a minute. Loose wire connection. Bad install. Simple fix. The kind of thing that looks dramatic but really is not. 10 minutes, I said without looking down. Good. I have a meeting at 8. I fixed the wire. Checked the voltage. Secured everything. Climbed down. She was still standing there. Most clients walked away once I started working. They wanted the problem solved, not the process. But she stayed, quiet watching, not in a rude way. More like she was used to keeping an eye on everything around her. I flipped the switch. The light came on steady and bright. All set. She looked up at it for a second. Then back at me. Thank you. No problem. We walked back into the kitchen, and she pulled out an actual checkbook from a drawer. That alone told me something. People with money usually made everything digital. Fast. Clean. Detached. But she wrote the check by hand. When she handed it to me, our fingers brushed for half a second. Thank you, Mr. Williams. Robert's fine. She paused, then held out her hand properly. Elizabeth. I shook it. Nice to meet you, Elizabeth. Her handshake was firm, professional, controlled, but there was something else there too. Something careful, like she was waiting to see if I would change now that I knew her name. I did not. I packed up my tools and headed for the door. I figured that was it. Another morning job. Another wealthy client. Another house I would forget by lunch. Then I reached the front step and heard her voice behind me. "Can I ask you something?" I turned around. Sure, she stood in the doorway with one hand still on the frame. Morning light fell across her face, and for the first time she did not look cold or guarded. She looked almost unsure. "Do you like your work?" That stopped me. Nobody asked me that, not clients, not friends, not even family. People asked what I charged. They asked if I was licensed, they asked if I could come on weekends, but nobody asked if I actually liked what I did. "Yeah," I said after a second. "I do." "Why?" "Because it was the truth," I answered honestly. "It's honest work. You fix something and it stays fixed. There's something good about that." She looked down for a moment, then back at me. Something passed across her face so quickly I almost missed it. Not envy exactly, more like longing. "That must be nice," she said softly. Before I could answer, she stepped back and gave me a polite nod. "Thank you again, Robert." The door closed. I stood there holding that check in my hand, staring at a door that should have meant nothing to me. But for some reason I could not shake the feeling that I had just met a woman who had everything money could buy, and still did not have the one thing she actually wanted. And I had no idea why that bothered me as much as it did. I did not think about Elizabeth Martinez again until 3 days later when my phone rang during Sophia's soccer practice. I was standing near the sideline with a paper cup of bad coffee in one hand, half watching the game and half checking work messages. Sophia was running after the ball with all the wild energy a 7-year-old could have, her ponytail flying behind her, her socks already dirty, her face serious like the whole future of the world depended on this one Saturday game. My phone buzzed her number. "Robert Williams. Mr. Williams, this is Elizabeth Martinez. We met earlier this week." I recognized her voice right away, calm, controlled, quiet in a way that made you lean in without meaning to, of course. "Is something wrong with the light?" "No, the light is fine. I'm calling about something else." I watched Sophia trip over the ball, pop back up like nothing happened. "Keep running." "Okay, I have several properties that need electrical work, maintenance, inspections, upgrades. I'd rather work with one reliable person than keep hiring different contractors. I wanted to know if you'd be interested." That got my attention. "How many properties?" 4 residential, 2 commercial. That was real work, good work, steady work. The kind of thing most people in my line would not think twice about. Still, I hesitated. "Can I ask why you're calling me?" "There are bigger companies that handle jobs like that. I don't want a company. I want someone who actually cares whether the work is done right." There was a short pause. "You do, don't you?" I looked up as Sophia kicked the ball toward the goal and missed by a mile. She threw her hands in the air anyway, like she had almost scored in the World Cup. "Yeah," I said. "I do, then I'd like to hire you." I checked the time. Practice had 20 minutes left. Then dinner, homework, bath, bed. My whole life ran on blocks of time measured down to the minute. "I can do a consultation. Thursday afternoon, Thursday at 2 works. I'll be there." "Thank you, Robert." She hung up before I could say anything else. That should have been the end of it. A good client, a good offer, business, simple. But it did not feel simple. Thursday came warm for late autumn. One of those strange afternoons where the air feels borrowed from another season. I showed up at Elizabeth's house at exactly 2, wearing my cleanest work shirt and carrying a notebook instead of a toolbox. She opened the door in black slacks and a silk blouse, but her feet were bare. There was a dark smudge on one hand. Like charcoal or paint, it did not fit the polished image the house gave off, and for some reason that made her seem more real. "Come in." This time she led me into a smaller sitting room off the main hallway. It actually looked lived in. There were papers on the coffee table, a laptop open, a mug with a tea stain near the handle. For the first time the house felt less like a museum and more like a place where a person existed. "Can I get you coffee or water?" "Water's fine." She came back with 2 glasses and sat across from me. "I appreciate you making time for this." "No problem." She started explaining the properties. 3 rental homes, 2 office buildings downtown, her main house, older wiring in some places, efficiency upgrades in others, safety inspections, regular maintenance. She spoke clearly and directly, like somebody used to being taken seriously. No rambling, no showing off, no wasting time. I took notes and asked questions. "What kind of timeline are you looking at?" "No rush. I'd rather have it done right than done fast." That part I liked. Then she leaned back in her chair and said something that threw me. "I want to be clear about something, Robert. This is a business arrangement. I'm not looking for friendship. I'm not looking for connection. I need competence and reliability. That's all." The words were blunt, but what stayed with me was the way she said them. Too fast. Too practiced, like she had said versions of that line before. I nodded, understood. "I'm here to do good work." Something softened in her face for a second. "Good. Then we understand each other." We spent the next half hour going over details. Payment, access, scheduling, materials. She knew more about her properties than most owners did. She asked smart questions, specific ones, the kind that told me she paid attention. When I stood to leave, she walked me to the door. I'll email the addresses tonight. You can start the walkthroughs whenever you're ready. Sounds good. I made it halfway down the path before she called my name. Robert, I turned. Thank you for being straightforward with me. I did not know what to say to that, so I just nodded. She gave a ghost of a smile. Most people want something from me. I don't want anything but fair pay for fair work. The smile reached her eyes that time. Exactly. The walkthroughs took me almost 2 weeks. I fit them around my regular jobs and Sophia's schedule. Early mornings, late afternoons. A few rushed hours between school pickup and dinner, Elizabeth codes and keys. Most of the time she was not there when I checked the properties. When she was, she stayed out of the way. The rental homes were normal enough. Old panels, worn outlets, ugly light fixtures that need to go. The office buildings were more complicated but manageable. It was her house that stayed in my head, especially the converted guest wing. The first time I stepped inside that part of the house, I expected another polished space. Instead, I found something else entirely. It was a studio, canvases stacked against the wall, easels near the windows, shelves full of brushes and paint tubes and jars clouded with dirty water, a pottery wheel in the corner, half-finished bowls drying on a work table. The whole room smelled faintly of clay and paint and something alive. It was the first room in that house that felt honest. I was there to check the lighting. She had told me it was too dim for detail work, but I stood there longer than I meant to, looking at one large canvas near the back, blues, gray streaks, hard brush marks. It looked like a storm trying to break out of a frame. Those are private. I turned so fast I nearly dropped my tablet. Elizabeth was standing in the doorway, arms folded. I'm sorry. I was just looking at the lighting in here. She did not answer right away. I held up the tablet. You were right. The light is bad for this kind of work. I can fix it. Track lighting, adjustable color temperature, better coverage. You know about art lighting? I know about lighting. Had a photographer client once. Picked up a few things. She watched me for a second, then walked over to one of the canvases and adjusted it even though it did not need adjusting. You're full of surprises. Not really. I just pay attention. That almost made her smile. Add it to the proposal. I made a note, then turned to go. Her voice stopped me again. Can I ask you something? I looked back. Sure, was this always the plan? This work, I knew what she was really asking, not about wires or tools. About my life. No, I said. I kind of fell into it. Ended up being good at it. Then life happened. What kind of life? I laughed once, but there was no humor in it. Marriage, divorce, a kid to raise, bills. The usual. She looked at me in that steady, careful way of hers. And before that, she asked softly, what did you want? Nobody had asked me that in years. And standing there in her strange, beautiful studio with paint on the air and silence all around us, I realized I still did not have a good answer. I leaned against the doorway and looked down at my hands before I answered. They were rough, scarred, still carrying a little dust from the panel I had checked earlier. Hands that fixed things, hands that paid rent, hands that packed school lunches and buttoned little coats and opened jars Sophia could not open on her own. Good hands, useful hands, but not the hands of the man I had once imagined I might become. I used to think I'd start my own company, I said. Not just service calls. Something bigger. A real electrical business. A team. Commercial jobs. Maybe train younger guys coming up. Build something that was mine. Elizabeth said nothing. She just watched me. I gave a small shrug. Turns out wanting something and being in a position to do it are not the same thing. No, she said quietly. They're not. The room went still after that. Not awkward, just heavy. Like we had both said more than we meant to. I left a few minutes later. But I carried that conversation with me all the way home. Through traffic, through pickup at Sophia's after-school program, through dinner and bath time, and the usual fight over whether one more story counted as bedtime or not. Even after Sophia was asleep and the apartment had gone quiet, I kept thinking about Elizabeth standing in that doorway with charcoal on her hand, asking me what I wanted before life happened. No one asked questions like that unless they had a few of their own. A week later, I started the work at her house. At first, it stayed exactly what she had said she wanted. Business, quiet, clean, professional. I would let myself in with the access code, set up in whatever room I was working on, and get to it. Sometimes she was home, sometimes she was not. When she was there, she kept to herself. A laptop at the kitchen island, a phone call in another room, a quiet set of footsteps moving through that giant house like she was trying not to disturb her own life. Then little things started changing. One morning I was replacing old dimmers in the guest wing when she appeared beside me holding a mug. Coffee? I looked up from the wall plate. For me? You're the only other person here. I took it, thanks. It's strong. I drank it. She was right. This isn't coffee. This is a weapon. For the first time she laughed out loud. It was not a polished laugh. Not the controlled little sound rich people made when they wanted to seem amused. It was real. Warm. A little surprised. Like she had forgotten how. After that she started appearing more often while I worked. Not to supervise. Not to hover, just to be there. She would sit at the kitchen island with her laptop while I rewired outlets. She would sketch in the studio while I adjusted lighting tracks. She would ask short questions now and then. How old is Sophia again? 7. Does she like school? Only the parts that let her talk. That earned me another smile. One afternoon I was working in the studio, installing the last of the adjustable lights. When I came down the ladder, I found Elizabeth sitting cross-legged on the floor near the window with a sketchbook on her lap. I thought you had meetings today. I cancelled them. You cancelled meetings to watch me install lights. Her mouth twitched. Don't flatter yourself. I'm drawing. I looked at the sketchbook. Can I see? No, that bad, that private. I held up both hands. Fair enough. For a while we stayed quiet. The room filled with the small sounds of work. My drill, the scrape of pencil on paper, the faint hum of the new lights overhead. Then she spoke without looking up. Can I ask you something personal? I was on the ladder again. Tightening a fixture. Depends. You said Sophia's mother left when she was 2. I stopped for a second. Then kept working. Yeah, do you ever resent her? There are questions people ask because they want gossip. And then there are questions people ask because they are trying to understand pain. Hers was the second kind. Sometimes, I said. Not in the sharp way I used to. More in the tired way. She walked away from something I would have fought for with everything I had. Elizabeth looked down at her sketchbook. And you stayed? Yeah, why? That answer came easy. Because Sophia didn't ask to be born into a mess. The words hung there between us. I climbed down from the ladder and set my screwdriver on the work table. I'm not saying I got noble overnight. I was angry, scared, broke, lost. But once it was clear her mom was really gone, there wasn't much to decide. Sophia needed somebody who stayed. So I stayed. Elizabeth was quiet for a long moment. That must have changed everything. It did. Do you ever feel like your whole life got shaped around someone else's needs? I leaned back against the ladder and looked at her. That's parenthood. No, she said softly. That's love. I do not know why that hit me the way it did. Maybe because she said it like someone who had spent her whole life seeing the difference between what people claimed and what they actually chose. What about you? I asked before I could stop myself. She looked up. Have you ever built your life around anyone else? The question landed hard. I saw it in her face. Not anger. Not offense. Something deeper. Like I had reached a door she kept locked. No, she said after a while. I built my life so I would never have to. That should have ended it. Maybe for anybody else it would have. But she did not leave. She stayed there on the floor with the sketchbook in her lap while I finished the lights. And the silence between us felt different after that. More honest. Less careful. When I was done, I switched on the system and adjusted the brightness. Clean white light washed over the studio. Every canvas came alive. The colors sharpened. The shadows softened. The room looked like it could finally breathe. Elizabeth stood and slowly turned in place. It's beautiful. It's functional. It can be both. Then she looked at me in a way that made my chest tight. No distance. No coldness. No polished wall. Just her. Thank you, Robert. I nodded once. You're welcome. That should have been it. But that evening when I was packing up, she appeared in the kitchen holding 2 wine glasses. It's after 6. You're off the clock. I looked at the glass in her hand. Then at her. Are you trying to break your own rules? Probably. I set my tool bag down. She handed me the wine and leaned against the counter across from me. We did not sit. It felt like sitting would make it something bigger, more personal. Harder to pretend it was still just work. I took a sip. It was good enough to make me feel poor, Elizabeth. Yes. What are we doing? She looked into her glass before answering. I'm not sure. That was the most honest thing she had said to me yet. I set my glass down on the counter, because this does not feel like just electrical work anymore. No, she said softly. It doesn't. The kitchen had gone dim except for the under-cabinet lights, and the sunset fading through the windows. She looked different in that softer light. Less like the woman who owned half the city. More like someone who had been carrying too much for too long. I don't usually let people into my space. I noticed. You notice everything. It's part of the job. No, she said, looking at me. It's part of you. That one got under my skin. I crossed my arms. Then tell me something true. She let out a breath that sounded almost like a laugh. You first, fine. I held her gaze. Sometimes I am so busy surviving that I forget to ask whether I'm actually living. Her eyes changed when I said that. Something softened. Something opened. That's true, she said. Your turn. She looked away toward the dark windows. I built my whole life around being untouchable. Money helps with that. Success helps. People stop asking real questions when you become too impressive to approach honestly. Is that what you wanted? No. Her voice dropped. It's what kept me safe. I did not move. Neither did she. Then she said the words that changed everything. I'm tired of being safe. The room went still. 100 smart things should have come to me in that moment. Warnings, boundaries, reasons to leave. She was a client, a billionaire. From a world so far from mine, it might as well have been another country. I was a single dad with a pickup truck, a cramped apartment, and exactly enough money to keep life running if nothing went wrong. This had mistake written all over it. But none of that was what I felt. What I felt was her. The loneliness in her voice. The way she held herself so carefully even now. The way she stood there like she had already given too much away and hated herself for it. I took one step toward her, then another. She did not move back, Elizabeth. Her hand tightened around the stem of her glass. Yes, you can still tell me to go. She looked at me for what felt like forever. Then she set the wine glass down on the counter with a small shaking sound. Whispered, "Stay." I do not know who moved first after that. Maybe it was both of us. 1 second there was still space between us. And the next her hand was on my chest. My hand was at her waist. And she was looking up at me with that same tired, careful face. Except now there was nothing careful left in it. Just fear, just honesty. "This is a bad idea," she whispered, "probably. You work for me. Yeah, this could get complicated, it already is." Her lips parted like she was about to say something else. But then she just shook her head once and pulled me down. The kiss hit me like truth. No game, no performance, no testing. She kissed like someone who had held back for too long and did not know how to do this halfway. Her mouth was soft, but there was need in it. Hunger, relief. Her fingers curled into my shirt, like she needed something solid to hold on to. I kissed her back like I had been waiting for it without knowing I was waiting. When we finally pulled apart, both of us were breathing hard. Her forehead rested against mine. "I don't do this," she whispered. "I know. I don't let people in. I know that too." Her voice shook. "Then why does this feel like the first honest thing I've done in years?" I slid my hand up to her face and brushed my thumb along her cheek. "Because maybe it is." She closed her eyes. Then she said the words I would hear in my head for days after. "I paid you to fix a light." But that's not what I really wanted. I felt my heart kick hard against my ribs. "What did you want?" She opened her eyes and looked right at me. I wanted you to see me and not want anything from me. And when you didn't, I didn't know what to do with that. I should have stopped it there. I did not. Instead, I kissed her again, slower this time. And when her hands came around my neck, I stopped pretending either of us could go back to being just a client and a contractor. By the time she took my hand and led me down the hallway, I knew one thing for certain. Whatever came next was going to change everything. She led me into a room I had never seen before. It was not one of the polished spaces she showed the world. Not the cold living room, not the spotless kitchen, not the sharp glass office feel the rest of the house carried. This room was softer. Bookshelves lined one wall. A fireplace sat across from a worn leather couch. There was a blanket folded over the armrest and an old mug on the side table, and a quiet kind of warmth that made the whole place feel lived in. "This is where I hide," Elizabeth said softly. I looked around. "From what?" "Everything." She let go of my hand and moved toward the fireplace. Turning it on with a small remote, orange light filled the room. It changed her face, took some of the steel out of it, made her look younger somehow. Not younger in age, younger in burden. I stayed where I was for a second, watching her. "You can still change your mind," I said. She turned and looked at me like I had said something almost impossible. "So can you?" I stepped closer. "I'm not changing my mind." Neither of us spoke after. We sat on the couch first, not touching. Then her hand found mine. Then my arm went around her shoulders. Then somehow she was curled against me like we had done this 100 times already. And the silence did not feel strange. It felt earned. After a while she said, "Tell me something true." I looked down at her. "You keep asking dangerous questions, and you keep answering them." I stared into the fire. "I'm scared all the time. Of failing Sophia. Missing something important. Not giving her enough. Working so hard to keep food on the table and rent paid that one day she grows up, and all she remembers is that her dad was tired." Elizabeth's expression changed. Not pity. Something gentler. "She won't remember that. She'll remember that you stayed." I swallowed hard. "What about you?" "Something true." For a second I thought she would shut down again. Pull the walls back up. Turn cold. Turn polished. Instead she looked at the fire and said, "I built everything I have to prove something to people who are dead." The words hit the room and stayed there. My parents never believed in me. My father thought business was for men. My mother thought I should marry someone important and stop trying to be important myself. So I built my company and made more money than they ever imagined possible. And by the time I had done it, they were gone. She gave a small, broken laugh. "So now I have all this success and nobody left I wanted to show it to." I looked at her for a long moment. "That sounds lonely, it is." I pulled her closer, and this time she did not resist at all. Her head rested against my chest and I could feel how tired she was. Not just in her body, but in her whole spirit. Like she had been holding up a life with both hands for so long that she had forgotten what rest even meant. "We're a mess," she murmured. "Yeah, this is still a bad idea probably." She looked up at me then, close enough that I could see the uncertainty in her eyes. "You're an electrician with a daughter and a real life. I'm a woman who lives in a house too big for one person and spends most of her time dealing with people she doesn't trust. These things don't fit together." maybe not neatly. That's not exactly comforting. I smiled a little. I'm not trying to be comforting. I'm trying to be honest. She stared at me for another second, and then kissed me again. After that, honesty became the only thing either of us had left. That night was not about fantasy. It was not about her money, or the size of her house, or the fact that I had work boots by the door while her floors looked like they belonged in a design magazine. It was about two people who had both spent too long denying themselves anything that felt uncertain. Later, lying beside her in a bed softer than anything I had ever slept in. I stared at the ceiling and listened to the quiet of her house. Elizabeth was turned toward me, one hand resting lightly on my chest like she wanted proof I was still there. "This doesn't feel real," she whispered. "It's real. You say that like you're sure. I'm sure this happened." Everything after that, I've got no idea. That made her smile. Good. Because I don't know either. Morning came too fast. The first thing I noticed was how still the room was. No traffic noise under the windows. No neighbor upstairs dropping something at 6 in the morning. No Sophia calling for juice from the other room. Just soft light and expensive sheets and Elizabeth sleeping beside me with her hair loose across the pillow. For one dangerous second I let myself enjoy it. Then reality came crashing back. I sat up too fast. "I have to go." Elizabeth blinked awake. "What time is it?" I checked my phone. 7. My mom had Sophia last night. I told her I'd pick her up early. Elizabeth pushed herself up on one elbow, still sleepy, still soft, and somehow even more beautiful for it. "Then go pick up your daughter." I looked at her. "That's it? What else should it be?" I rubbed a hand over my face. A conversation. Panic. Regret. One of us saying we made a mistake. Her expression changed at that last word. Did we? No, the answer came too fast to fake. "No, I don't think we did. Neither do I." I let out a breath I had not realized I was holding. She sat up fully now, the sheet wrapped around her. Touched my arm. "Robert, yeah, I know your daughter comes first." "She does. She should." Her voice was steady. "I would never ask you to make that different." Something in my chest shifted when she said that. Something important. I got dressed quickly, finding my shirt near the chair and my jeans half under the bed. Elizabeth watched me with a look I could not fully read. Not distance, not regret. Something more fragile than that. At the bedroom door I turned back. "What happens now?" She was quiet for a second. "I don't know," she admitted. "But I know I don't want this to become something we pretend didn't happen. Me neither." She stood, crossed the room, and kissed me once, slow. "Certain. Go be a father," she whispered. "Then come back tonight if you still want to." I looked at her for a long moment. Yeah, I still want to. I drove to my mother's house with my mind split in two. Half of me was already back in regular life. Pick up Sophia, make breakfast, figure out the day. The other half was still in that bed, in that house, with a woman who had everything and still somehow looked at me like I was the first honest thing she had found in years. My mother opened the door before I knocked. She took one look at my face and narrowed her eyes. "You look terrible." I stepped inside. "Morning to you too, Mom." That's not a normal tired face. That's an "I did something complicated" face. I laughed before I could stop myself. From the kitchen, Sophia's voice rang out, "Daddy." A second later, she hit me like a small tornado. Arms around my waist. Talking before she had even fully stopped moving. "Grandma let me have 2 cookies after dinner. And I watched a dinosaur movie and I slept in my clothes because I forgot to change." I picked her up and held her tight. There it was. My real life, my center, my reason. But for the first time in years, it did not feel like the only part of me that mattered. Over Sophia's shoulder, my mother gave me a long look. Questions later. For now, I just held my daughter and stood there in my mother's kitchen with sleep still in my eyes, and Elizabeth still on my skin, and one truth rising quietly above all the confusion. I was in trouble. Not bad trouble, the kind that changes your life. I went back to work at Elizabeth's house 3 days later. The surface stayed professional. Quiet, clean. But something underneath had shifted. I would be running wire in a wall and suddenly she would appear with coffee. Not saying anything. Just setting it down next to my toolbox and walking away. I would look up from a junction box and find her watching me from across the room. And when our eyes met, she would not look away. Small moments, hands brushing when she passed me a screwdriver I had left on the counter. Eyes holding a beat longer than necessary. Smiles that felt like secrets. One morning I was working in one of the rental properties. Old wiring, bad panel. The kind of job that takes focus. My phone buzzed. "Elizabeth, how's Sophia's soccer?" I smiled and typed back. "She scored. Also tripped over the ball twice. That's my girl." He stared at those 3 words for longer than I should have. That's my girl. Like Sophia was hers too. Like we were building something here that went beyond just the 2 of us. And that thought scared me more than anything else. Because it meant this was not just about me anymore. It meant Sophia was already part of it, whether I wanted her to be or not. Friday evening, I was finishing up at one of the downtown office buildings when Elizabeth appeared in the doorway. I had not expected her. She never visited job sites. "I was nearby," she said. I looked up from the breaker panel and smiled. "You were nearby?" This is downtown. You live in Westridge Hills. She smiled back. Okay, I wanted to see you. I closed the panel and wiped my hands on my work pants. Yeah? Yeah, we walked out to the parking lot together. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the pavement. She leaned against my truck. Richard's pushing again. Board meeting next month. He wants a merger vote. Richard Anderson, the board member. Her father's old friend. The one who thought she was not fit to run the company. What kind of merger? The kind where Martina's development gets absorbed into Anderson Properties, where I keep a title but lose everything that matters. I leaned against the truck next to her. What do you need? She looked at me. To remember why I'm fighting, her hand found mine, and for a few minutes we just stood there in that parking lot. Not saying anything, not needing to, because sometimes the fight is easier when you are not fighting alone. Saturday came bright and clear. I had Sophia all day. We had plans. Bailey's ice cream at 3. Her favorite place. My phone buzzed while I was making lunch. Elizabeth, can I see you? I stared at the message for a long time. I had not introduced anyone to Sophia since the divorce. Not a single person, because every introduction was a promise. A suggestion that this person might stay, and I could not make that promise to my daughter unless I was sure. But I typed back ice cream at Bailey's. 3 p.m. Want to come? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Are you sure? I looked across the kitchen at Sophia. She was coloring at the table. Tongue stuck out in concentration. Yeah, Bailey's was crowded when we got there. Families everywhere. Kids running between tables. The smell of waffle cones and sugar in the air. Sophia and I grabbed a corner table. She pulled out her crayons and started drawing while we waited. Then I saw Elizabeth walk in jeans, sweater, hair down. She looked nervous. I stood up. Sophia, this is my friend Elizabeth. Sophia looked up from her drawing, studied Elizabeth with that intense 7-year-old scrutiny that misses nothing. You're pretty. Elizabeth's face softened into a genuine smile. Thank you. You're pretty too. Sophia tilted her head. I know. Daddy tells me every day. Elizabeth laughed, and just like that the tension broke. We got ice cream. Sophia talked about dinosaurs, about her soccer team, about the mean girl in her class who said dinosaurs were for boys. Elizabeth listened, really listened. Not the polite listening adults do when they are waiting for their turn to talk, but the kind where you can tell they actually care about the answer. Do you have kids? Sophia asked suddenly. Elizabeth's smile faltered for just a second. No, why not? Sophia, I started, but Elizabeth held up a hand. I never found the right person to have them with. Sophia thought about that, nodded like it made perfect sense. Then she said something that made my chest tight. My mommy left. But Daddy stayed. Silence. Elizabeth looked at me. Something in her eyes I could not name. Sophia kept going. Matter of fact. Like she was explaining basic math. Daddy says be brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means doing the thing even when you are. Elizabeth's voice came out quiet. Your daddy's very smart. After ice cream, we walked to the parking lot. Sophia ran ahead to look at a dog tied up outside the shop. Elizabeth stopped. She's wonderful. Yeah. Thank you for letting me meet her. I looked at her. I wouldn't have if I didn't think this was real. She stopped walking. Is it real? I watched Sophia ask the dog's owner if she could pet it. Saw the way her whole face lit up when they said yes. I don't know what it is yet. But it's not nothing. Elizabeth's hand found mine, squeezed once, then let go before Sophia turned around. Monday morning I got a text that changed everything. Elizabeth, we need to talk. Can you come over? The words sat on my screen like a warning. I called my mother, asked if she could watch Sophia after school. She said yes, but her voice was tight. My hands are hurting today, Robert. I know, Mom. I'm sorry. I'll be quick. It's not about quick. It's about how much longer I can keep doing this. Guilt hit me like a fist, I know. I'll figure something out. I drove to Elizabeth's house with a knot in my stomach. She opened the door before I knocked. One look at her face and I knew something was wrong. What happened? She led me into the studio. Started pacing. Richard knows. My stomach dropped. Knows what? About us. About ice cream. About everything. I set my keys down on the work table. How does it matter? He knows. And he's going to use it. I kept my voice calm. Let him. What's he going to do? She stopped pacing. Looked at me like I was missing something obvious. He's going to paint you as opportunistic, me as naive. He's going to tell the board I'm making emotional decisions instead of business ones. And he's going to use that to push me out. I crossed my arms. So what are you saying? She would not look at me. And that was when I understood. You're ending this. Her voice came out quiet. I don't know what else to do. Anger rose up my throat before I could stop it. You have a choice, Elizabeth. You always do. It's not that simple. It is. You're choosing the company, the board's opinion, Richard's approval. You're choosing all of that over this. Her eyes filled. That's not fair. What's not fair is asking me to feel something real, then walking away because it's inconvenient. Robert? No. I shook my head. I get it. I knew this was complicated, but I thought I stopped. Could not finish. I thought you were braver than this. She flinched like I had hit her. I'm not. I looked at her for a long moment. Then I guess I was wrong about you. I left Gott in my truck and drove home with my hands shaking on the wheel. The next day, my mother showed up at my apartment unannounced. Sophia was at school. I was between jobs, sitting at the kitchen table staring at nothing. She took one look at me and sighed. "You want to tell me what's eating you?" "Not really." She sat down across from me. "Is it the woman?" I did not answer. "I've known you 34 years, Robert. You think I don't see when you're carrying something?" I finally looked at her. She ended it. Said it was too complicated. My mother was quiet for a moment. "And you're angry?" "I'm tired, Mom. Tired of people deciding I'm not worth the complication." She reached across the table. Put her hand over mine. "Your ex-wife left because she wasn't brave enough to be a mother. This woman is ending things because she's not brave enough to be seen with you. Neither of those things is about your worth, Robert. It's about theirs." I looked down at our hands. "But here's the hard part," she continued. "You can't make someone brave. They have to choose it themselves. So what do? You decide if you're willing to wait while she figures it out, or you walk away and protect your heart." I was quiet for a long time. What if she never figures it out? My mother squeezed my hand. "Then you'll have your answer." A week passed. Elizabeth did not call, did not text. I finished the work on her rental properties, left the keys with her assistant, went back to my regular jobs, my regular life, but something had broken open inside me that would not close back up. I kept thinking about her standing in that studio, looking at me like I was the only person who had ever really seen her, and then choosing to be invisible again because it was safer. Thursday afternoon, I was rewiring an old house in Riverside when my phone rang. Jennifer Clark, Elizabeth's assistant. "Mr. Williams? I'm calling because Elizabeth asked me to check if you completed the final inspection reports. I sent them Monday." "Right. Thank you." A pause. "Can I ask you something off the record?" I stopped working. "Sure. How long have you known her?" 2 months. "Why?" Jennifer's voice got softer. "I've worked for Elizabeth 4 years. She's been brilliant, driven, successful." Another pause. "And the loneliest person I've ever met." I did not say anything. Then 2 weeks ago, she smiled at her phone during a budget meeting. Actually smiled at her phone. I'd never seen her do that before. My chest tightened. "I don't know what happened between you two," Jennifer continued. "But whatever it was, it made her happy. And she deserves happy. She ended it, I know. That's why I'm calling." I leaned against the wall. "What do you want me to do?" "Nothing. I just thought you should know. The board meeting is tomorrow. Richard's pushing the merger vote, and she's going to fight it alone." She hung up. I stood there holding my phone, thinking about what my mother said. You can't make someone brave. But maybe you could stand next to them while they figured out how to be. The board meeting was at 10. I showed up at 9:45. The receptionist tried to stop me, but I walked past her. Took the elevator to the top floor, found the conference room. Through the glass I could see them. Elizabeth at the head of the table, Richard standing, presenting something on a screen, 3 other board members watching. I pushed the door open, everyone turned. Elizabeth stood. "Robert, what are you?" But I was not looking at her. I was looking at Richard. "You want to talk about me?" I said. "Do it to my face." Richard's expression went from surprise to amusement. "Mr. Williams, this is a private board meeting. You made it about me when you started using my relationship with Elizabeth to push her out." I walked into the room. "My name is Robert Williams. I'm an electrician. I have a 12-year track record, a license, insurance, and a reputation I built from nothing. Elizabeth hired me because I do good work, not because she owed me anything, not because I asked for favors, because I'm good at my job." Richard opened his mouth, but I kept going. "And yeah, somewhere in there we realized we trusted each other with more than just wiring. If that's a scandal, then your problem isn't with me. It's with the idea that someone like her could choose someone like me." I looked at the board members. "And that says more about you than it does about us." Silence. One of the board members, an older man named Tom, cleared his throat. "He's right." Richard turned. "Tom? No, he's right. Elizabeth's personal life is hers. Unless there's a conflict of interest with company money or decisions, it's not our business." Another board member nodded. Then another. Richard's face went tight. "This is a mistake." Elizabeth stood, her voice steady. "The only mistake was letting you make me doubt myself. My father didn't trust me. You don't trust me. But I've earned this position, and I'm done apologizing for it." She looked at me. "And I'm done being too scared to choose something real." Richard gathered his papers. "You're making a mistake, Elizabeth." She did not flinch. "Then it's mine to make." Richard walked out. The board meeting ended. Elizabeth and I stood alone in the conference room. "You came," she said. "Yeah, you didn't have to do that." "Yeah, I did, because you were right. This was always going to be complicated. But I'd rather have complicated and real than easy and empty." She crossed the room. "I'm sorry I tried to end it. I was scared, I know. So was I." A small smile. "Sophia told you being brave means doing the thing even when you're scared, didn't she?" I looked at her. "How did you know?" "Because it's exactly what a kid raised by you would say." We kissed. And for the first time in a week, I could breathe again. The board members filed out one by one. Tom gave Elizabeth a nod. The others avoided eye contact until it was just the two of us in that conference room. Glass walls on every side. The city spread out below like proof that the world kept turning, no matter what happened in rooms like this. Elizabeth stood by the window, arms crossed, looking out but not really seeing. I walked over, stopped a few feet behind her. "This won't be easy," I said. "Richard won't stop. People will talk, your world and mine. They don't fit together neatly." She turned. "I know, I have Sophia. She comes first." "Always, I know that too." Her voice stayed level, and I wouldn't want it any other way. I stepped closer. "Then come here." She crossed to me. I pulled her in. "You're brave, Elizabeth. Braver than you think." She held me like she was trying to memorize the shape of it. "Thank you for waiting." We left the building separately, her through the front, me through the parking garage, because even though we had just made our choice in front of the board, the world outside still needed managing. Still needed careful, at least for now. I drove back to Riverside thinking about what came next. The practical things, how we would navigate this, what it meant for Sophia, whether Elizabeth's world and mine could actually coexist, or if we were just postponing the inevitable collision. My phone rang. My mother. "Sophia's asking when you're picking her up." I checked the clock. 3:15. "I'm 10 minutes out." A pause. "Robert." My hands. "Really bad today." Guilt twisted in my stomach. "I know, Mom. I'm sorry. I'll be right there." I hung up and pressed the gas a little harder. This was the reality Elizabeth's world did not see. The constant calculation, the tight margins, the fact that one bad day with my mother's arthritis could throw everything off balance. When I got to my mother's house, Sophie was on the couch watching cartoons. My mother was in the kitchen, hands wrapped around a mug of tea. "Hey, Mom." She looked up, her face tight with pain. "I can't keep doing this much, Robert. I love that little girl. But my body, it's not what it used to be." I sat down across from her. "I know. I'll figure something out. You keep saying that." Her voice cracked. "But you're one person, and you're trying to do everything. Work, parent. Now whatever this thing is with that woman, something's going to break. Nothing's going to break. Everything breaks eventually." She reached across the table, put her hand over mine. "I'm not saying don't try. I'm saying be smart about what you're trying to carry." Sophia appeared in the doorway. "Ready, Daddy?" I looked at my daughter, then at my mother. "Yeah, sweetheart. Let's go home." That night after Sophia was in bed, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop open. Childcare options in Riverside, after-school programs. The numbers made my head hurt. $200 a week for part-time care, $350 for full-time, which meant I would need to take on more jobs, which meant less time with Sophia, which meant the whole reason I was doing this in the first place started to dissolve. My phone buzzed. "Elizabeth, you okay?" I stared at the message, then typed back, just looking at childcare costs. "My mom can't help as much anymore." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "How much do you need?" I put the phone down, picked it up again. I wasn't asking for money, I'm offering. And there it was, the line we had not talked about yet, her money, my pride. The fact that she could solve this problem with a check and I could not. I typed carefully. "I appreciate it, but I need to figure this out on my own." Why? Because if I let you pay for things, it changes what this is. Because I need to know I can take care of my daughter without someone else's money. Because the second I start depending on you financially, I'm not your equal anymore. But I did not type any of that. Instead I wrote, "Because I need to." She did not push, just sent back, "Okay. But if that changes, tell me." I set the phone down and went back to the spreadsheet trying to make numbers work that did not want to work. Friday I took Sophia to her soccer game. Elizabeth texted that morning, "Can I come?" I hesitated, then typed back, "Yeah." She showed up 10 minutes before kickoff. Jeans and a sweater and sneakers that looked like they had never touched grass before. Sophia saw her and waved so hard she nearly fell over. Elizabeth waved back, then walked over to where I was standing on the sideline. Hey. We watched Sophia run onto the field. All energy and no coordination. "She's really bad at this," Elizabeth said. I laughed. "Yeah, but she loves it. That's what matters." We stood there side by side, not touching, because there were other parents around and this was still new and fragile and I was not ready for the questions yet. But then Sophia actually scored, her first goal all season. And I forgot about everything else. I shouted, jumped, grabbed Elizabeth's hand without thinking. She squeezed back. Sophia ran to the sideline after, face red, grinning so wide I could see the gap where she lost her tooth last month. Did you see? I saw." "That was amazing." She threw her arms around me, then looked at Elizabeth. "Did you see too?" Elizabeth crouched down to Sophia's level. "I did. That was incredible." Sophia's grin got impossibly wider. "I'm going to scan more." She ran back onto the field. Elizabeth stood up, looked at me. "She's really something." "Yeah, you did that." I shook my head. "She did that." "No. She's brave because you taught her how." The game ended. Sophia's team lost 5-3, but she did not care. She walked between us to the parking lot, talking non-stop about the goal, about how the goalie did not even see it coming. about how next week she was going to score 2. When we got to my truck, she stopped. "Can Elizabeth come to dinner?" I looked at Elizabeth. She looked at me. "I don't want to intrude." Sophia grabbed her hand. "You're not intruding. Daddy makes spaghetti on Fridays. It's tradition." Elizabeth's expression softened. "Well, I don't want to mess with tradition." So she followed us back to my apartment. And for the first time, Elizabeth Martinez entered my actual life. Not the version I showed clients. Not the put-together professional self, the real thing. The cramped 2-bedroom with the water stain on the ceiling and the couch I bought used off Craigslist and the stack of bills on the counter I kept meaning to file. Elizabeth walked in and did not flinch. Just looked around and said, "It's nice." Sophia pulled her toward the kitchen. "You can help make the sauce. Daddy always burns it. I do not always burn it. You burned it last week, that was one time." Elizabeth laughed, and for the next hour we made spaghetti. Sophia did most of the talking. Elizabeth asked questions. I tried not to burn the sauce. At dinner, Sophia wanted to sit next to Elizabeth, so I sat across from them and watched my daughter explain the entire plot of the dinosaur movie she watched at my mother's house. Elizabeth listened like it was the most fascinating thing she had ever heard. After dinner, Sophia wanted to show Elizabeth her room. "It's really messy," I warned. "I don't mind messy." They disappeared down the hall. I cleaned up the kitchen, loading the dishwasher, wiping down Conce's trying not to think too hard about how right this felt, how easy, how much I wanted it to keep feeling this way. Elizabeth came back 20 minutes later. "She's brushing her teeth. Thanks for being patient with her." I wasn't being patient. I was having fun. She leaned against the counter next to me. "You're really good at this." "At what?" "Being a dad." I dried my hands. "I'm just doing my best." "That's what makes you good at it." Sophia appeared in dinosaur pajamas. "Can Elizabeth read me a story?" She looked at me. "If that's okay, yeah, it's okay." I watched them walk down the hall together, Sophia chattering about which book they should read. And I thought about what my mother said. Something's going to break. But maybe that was the wrong way to think about it. Maybe things did not break. Maybe they just changed shape to hold more. After Sophia was asleep, Elizabeth came back to the living room. We sat on the couch. A careful distance between us at first. Then she leaned her head on my shoulder. "This is normal," she said quietly. "Yeah, I never thought I'd want normal." I put my arm around her. "What changed?" She was quiet for a long time. I met someone who made normal feel like enough. We sat there until it got late, talking in low voices about nothing important. Her projects at work, my upcoming jobs, Sophia's school play in December, small things, real things. The kind of things people talk about when they are building a life together instead of just passing time. When she finally left, it was almost midnight. I walked her to her car. "Thank you for tonight," she said. "Thank you for coming." She kissed me. Soft. "Slow, I'll see you tomorrow?" Yeah, I watched her drive away, then went back inside to my quiet apartment. And for the first time in years, quiet did not feel lonely. The next week settled into a rhythm. I worked. She worked. We texted throughout the day. Small things. Jokes. Photos. She sent me a picture of a terrible electrical job someone had done in one of her buildings. "Is this legal?" I sent back, "That's not even electrical work. That's a crime scene." She came to dinner Friday again. And the Friday after that, until it stopped being a special occasion and started being just what we did. Sophia stopped asking if Elizabeth was coming. She just started setting 3 plates. 2 weeks in, Elizabeth showed up with groceries. I thought I'd cook tonight. Sophia's eyes went wide. "You know how to cook?" Elizabeth smiled. "I know how to try." She made chicken and vegetables and only set off the smoke alarm once. Sophia thought it was hilarious. I thought it was perfect. After dinner, Sophia asked Elizabeth to help with her math homework. So they sat at the kitchen table, working through fractions while I cleaned up. And I listened to Elizabeth explain halves and quarters with the same patience she probably used in board meetings. Later, after Sophia was asleep, Elizabeth and I sat on the couch. "I have to tell you something," she said. My stomach tightened. "Okay, the East Harbor project. The mixed-income housing I designed. We're breaking ground next month." I relaxed. "That's amazing. My name goes on the building." I pulled her closer. "Your dad would be proud." She was quiet for a second. "Maybe. But I'm doing it for me now." "Good." She looked up at me. "I want you and Sophia to come to the groundbreaking ceremony." "You sure?" "I'm sure. You're part of this." And that was when I realized we were not just dating anymore. We were not just seeing where this went. We were building something that had room for all of us. 3 weeks in, my mother called. "I need to talk to you." Her voice sounded strained. I drove over that afternoon. She was sitting at the kitchen table, hands folded in front of her. "What's wrong?" She looked up. "Nothing's wrong." "I just wanted to tell you something." I sat down. "The new medication is working. My hands, they're better. Relief hit me." "That's great, Mom, which means I can help more with Sophia again. If you need it, you don't have to." She held up a hand. "I want to. That little girl is my granddaughter. And you're my son. I see what you're doing. Working yourself half to death. trying to be everything for everyone. She reached across the table. Let me help. I felt my throat get tight. Thank you, and Robert. This woman, Elizabeth, you bring her around more. I want to meet someone who makes you smile like that. So the next Sunday I brought Elizabeth to my mother's house for lunch. I was nervous. More nervous than I had been for anything else. Because my mother's opinion mattered in a way the boards never would. But I should not have worried. Within 10 minutes, my mother and Elizabeth were talking about architecture, about the East Harbor project, about sustainable design. And my mother was smiling in that way that meant she approved. After lunch, Sophia and my mother went to the backyard to look at the garden. Elizabeth and I cleaned up the kitchen. She likes you, I said. How can you tell? She's feeding you, that's how you know. Elizabeth smiled. I like her too. She dried a plate. This is your world, your family. I'm glad you let me in. I turned to face her. You are family now. Her eyes got bright. Yeah? Yeah, she kissed me. And through the window I could see Sophia and my mother, pointing at flowers, laughing at something. This was it. This was what I had been afraid to hope for. Not perfect, not easy, but real. October became November. The East Harbor groundbreaking ceremony was scheduled for the first Saturday in December. Elizabeth was stressed. The project was big, high profile. The first major development she had done completely on her own. No board oversight, no Richard. Just her vision and her name. I could see the weight of it. She started staying later at work, missing Friday dinners, until one night she showed up at 11. Exhausted. Eyes red. I'm sorry I missed dinner. It's okay. She sat on the couch, put her head in her hands. What if I messed this up? I sat next to her. You won't. You don't know that. I know you. And I know you don't do anything halfway. She looked at me. What if Richard was right? What if I'm just maintaining what my father built, and this is the thing that proves it? I took her hand. Richard was never right. Your father was never right. The only person who gets to decide what you're capable of is you. She leaned against me. I'm scared, I know. But you're doing it anyway. That's the whole point. We sat there for a long time, and eventually her breathing slowed. Her shoulders relaxed. Until she fell asleep against me. I carried her to bed, covered her with a blanket, and thought about all the ways bravery looks different than we expect. December came cold and bright. The morning of the groundbreaking ceremony, Sophia could not decide what to wear. It's fancy, right? Kind of, so not my dinosaur shirt. Probably not your dinosaur shirt. She settled on a dress she had not worn since last Christmas. Too small now, but she did not care. We drove to the East Harbor site, a big empty lot downtown. Construction equipment already staged. A small crowd gathered. City council members, investors, press. Elizabeth was in the center of it. Navy suit, hair perfect, every inch the CEO. But when she saw us, she smiled, walked over. You came. Of course we came. Sophia grabbed her hand. You look like a princess. Elizabeth laughed. Thank you. You look pretty fancy yourself. The ceremony started. Elizabeth gave a speech about sustainable housing, about mixed income communities, about building things that last. Her voice was steady, strong, but I could see her hands shaking. Only someone who knew her well would notice. When she finished, the crowd applauded. She picked up a shovel, turned the first piece of earth, cameras flashed, and I watched this woman I loved do the thing she had been terrified of. Put her name on something, claim her own legacy. After the ceremony, she made her way through the crowd, shaking hands, accepting congratulations. I stayed back with Sophia, giving her room. But then she found me. Come here. She pulled me toward a reporter. This is Robert Williams. He did all the electrical planning for the project. The reporter looked at me. Can I get a quote? I froze. Elizabeth squeezed my hand. Robert's one of the best electricians in the state. This project wouldn't be what it is without his expertise. The reporter wrote it down, and I realized what she was doing. She was not hiding me, not keeping me separate from her professional life. She was claiming me too, the way I had claimed her in that boardroom. After the ceremony, we went to lunch. Elizabeth, my mother, me a diner in Riverside, nothing fancy. Red vinyl booths and laminated menus and coffee in heavy mugs. Elizabeth fit right in. Sophia ordered pancakes. My mother got soup. Elizabeth and I split a burger and we talked about the project, about Sophia's school play, about my mother's garden plans for spring, normal things, real things, until Sophia had looked at Elizabeth and asked the question I had been waiting for. Are you going to be my stepmom? Silence. Elizabeth looked at me. I looked at her. I don't know, sweetheart, Elizabeth said carefully. Your dad and I, we're still figuring things out. Sophia thought about that. But you love him, right? Elizabeth's face softened. Yeah, I do. And he loves you? I reached across the table, took Elizabeth's hand. Yeah, I do. Sophia shrugged. Then you'll figure it out. She went back to her pancakes like she had just solved world peace. My mother smiled into her soup. And Elizabeth and I sat there holding hands across a diner table, not knowing what the future looked like, but knowing we wanted to find out together. That night after everyone had gone home, Elizabeth stayed. We sat on my couch, the apartment quiet except for the sound of Sophia's voice machine down the hall. I meant it, Elizabeth said. What I told Sophia. I know, I love you. I pulled her closer. I love you too. She was quiet for a moment. This isn't what I thought my life would look like. Good or bad? Good, really good. I kissed her. What happens next? She looked up at me. I don't know. But I know I want normal. I want Friday spaghetti dinners and soccer games, and your daughter asking me to read stories. I want this, even though it's messy. Especially because it's messy. We sat there until late, talking about the future in hypotheticals that felt less hypothetical every time we said them. Maybe she would sell the big house, get something smaller, closer to Riverside. Maybe I would finally take that business loan, start the company I had always wanted. Maybe Sophia would get a little sister or brother someday. Maybe, possibly, eventually. The words of people who were not making promises yet, but were starting to see the shape of them. When Elizabeth finally left, it was past midnight. I walked her to her car like always. I'll see you Friday? Actually, she turned back. I was thinking I could come over tomorrow. If that's okay, we could just, I don't know, hang out. I smiled. Yeah, that's okay, because that was what this had become. Not grand gestures or dramatic declarations, just showing up, choosing each other, again and again and again. The next 6 months unfolded like that, slow, steady, real. Elizabeth came to every soccer game, every school play, every parent-teacher conference. I went to her project site visits, her ribbon cuttings, her late nights at the office when she needed someone to bring dinner and sit quietly while she worked. Sophia started calling Elizabeth by her first name without the formality. Just Elizabeth, like she had always been there. My mother's hands got better. She started watching Sophia 3 days a week, which meant I could take on bigger jobs, which meant I started saving for that business loan. Richard left the board, took a position at another company. Elizabeth did not gloat, just kept building. And somewhere in all of that, we stopped being two separate lives trying to fit together. We became one life shared, messy oars. 6 months after the groundbreaking ceremony, Elizabeth showed up at my apartment with a key. What's this? Key to my house? Well, my new house. I looked at her. You bought a house? In Riverside, 3 bedrooms, a backyard. 10 minutes from here. My chest got tight. Elizabeth, I'm not asking you to move in, not yet. But I wanted you to have a key. So you know, this is for all of us. I took the key, all of us. Yeah, you, me, Sophia, if you want. I pulled her close, yeah. We want, so we started spending weekends there. Sophia loved the backyard. Elizabeth and I loved the quiet. And slowly, carefully, we started talking about what it would look like to actually combine households. What it would mean for Sophia, for my work, for Elizabeth's schedule, the logistics of merging 2 lives that had been separate for so long. It was not simple, but it was worth it. One Sunday morning in June, we were at Elizabeth's new house. Sophia was in the backyard. Elizabeth and I were in the kitchen making breakfast. She was at the stove, I was at the counter, and the light coming through the windows made everything look gold. Robert? Yeah? Thank you. I looked up. For what? She turned. For fixing my light. And everything after. I crossed to her, pulled her in. You fixed mine too. And standing there in that kitchen with my daughter laughing in the backyard, and the smell of pancakes in the air and this woman in my arms, I thought about the question she had asked me 6 months ago. Do you like your work? I had said yes then. But now I understood it differently, because work was not just what you did to survive. It was what you did to build. And I was not just building a business or a career. I was building a life with her, with Sophia, with all the messy, complicated, beautiful parts that made it real. This was honest work, and it stayed.